Another amazing panel. So I want to introduce our next panel. Horace has been a great partner of the Council of the Americas for, I don't want to say how many years, but many years, 15 at least. Horace has a great background in very senior and regional HR. So he is quite a guru in that. So Horace, thank you for agreeing to moderate this amazing panel. And we have Patricia Prospero. Patricia, welcome, another amazing leader in HR. She works at Diageo. Renata Vasconcelos. Renata of Relics. Renata, nice to meet you. You also came from, not in Miami, right? DC, you see, we attract people from all over. And Alina Hernandez, actually talk about Alina, you're coming from Mexico, right? Okay, so Alina of Killanova, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Lourdes and Council of the Americas for having me here. Actually, yes, I've been involved for many years, and this is actually something that is very relevant, very important for me. Uh, Within the HR world, we always talk about creating opportunities, developing talent, and um, and I began to be a very strong advocate of having women uh, 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 in the workforce as a matter of conviction, not as a matter of policy. And a little story, a little bit over 25 years ago, and to help with the math, yes, I started when I was 8 years old. Okay, so around 25 years ago, I was working for an oil field services company. And at that time, the company had a strategy. It was a business strategy to hire female engineers, 1,500 female engineers around the world, and 25% of them at least had to be female. Uh, we were very successful. We were very successful. It was a great experience. But it was not just about the 25%. It was not just about having female engineers. It was also the company providing the support, the tools to make them successful. Actually, even talking to the customers and saying, we're going to have a female engineer over here coming on Monday. So better watch out, right? Because she is a very smart person. She's coming here because she is going to add a lot of value to your business, not because of other reasons. And sometimes there were even clauses in contracts to ensure that there was respect and there was a proper business decor in the relationships. So I learned at that time how impactful and valuable it was to have women in the workforce. And I also said, well, if this works in the oil business, right, that usually, well, the oil wells, the gas reservoirs, they're not in Miami, London, Paris, Rio de Janeiro. They are in other places that are not so, I would say, Club Med type. And it worked very well, and they were very successful, right? So I learned that at a very early stage, and this is linked back to one of the comments about the current situation about changing policies, DEI, et cetera. I think this is a matter of business strategy. I think this is a matter of creating opportunities. It's more than a policy. It's more than a philosophy or a quota. It's really understanding how women and how having diverse teams in general adds a lot of value to businesses and to communities. Okay, so I'm not going to continue, right? But actually going to now give the floor to these fantastic professionals. I mean, amazing. I've known Patricia for some years, but I managed to learn a little bit. Some years, yes, yes. I think you were 6, and when I was 8, yes, and learned a lot about them. Fantastic professionals. You're going to learn many things about their personal stories, their development, their trajectories, how they overcame some obstacles in their professional lives, how they managed to balance their personal life and professional life and being successful in both. And so it's very inspirational for anyone who is probably starting a career, who is actually thinking about making a move, maybe making a move out of the area of comfort as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce here Alina Hernandez, Senior Director of Corporate Affairs, Villanova, Latin America. Patricia Prospero, Vice President of Human Resources for Latin America and Caribbean at Diageo. and Renata Vasconcelos, Head of Latin America Government Affairs at Relix. So the first question really is going to be uh, to the same question for the three of you. So um, I would like to probably first start with a little bit about your roles, what you do and what is a little bit one day in your life. So I'll start with you, Alina.
Thank you, and thank you for having us. And may I just start by saying that I'm so inspired by the last couple of panels, and I just love my work after hearing them because like they inspire me to get excited about my work. So it's been a great morning so far. So I lead corporate affairs for Calanova, Kellogg's. You probably have our brands in your kitchens, in your homes. I lead the corporate affairs practice. That means that I'm in charge of communications, sustainability, philanthropy, and government relations for 33 markets in the region. I lead a team of 13 professionals, 12 of them women. So I can attest to the power of sorority, of talent, of professionalism, of skills, and of just bringing your whole self to work and having an impact in your work. I've been with Kellogg's for less than a year, 8 months, but I've been in the food and beverages industry for almost a decade. And before that, I was public servant and a lobbyist and a consultant. So thank you for having me.
Hello. Thank you very much, Horace. Thank you, Lourdes, for the invitation again. It's always an amazing pleasure to be here with you and with you all. Well, I work for Diageo. Diageo is a multinational company, a beverage company. We lead premium spirits brands, so Johnny Walker in the Scotch category, or Tanqueray, gin, tequila, Don Julio. So we do have like more than 200 brands across the world, and it's interesting. I was just listening to the previous panel, thinking about the policies and everything, and we know, we feel it, honestly. So I have been with Diageo for almost 3 years now. Before Diageo, I was with financial services, many years with American Express. Then I went to Zurich. I was with Pharma, Baxter for a while, and my last job prior to Diageo was VP for Americas for Cisco Technologies. And so the whole digital piece also, it's very interesting in my life. In Diageo, we have been really, really promoting the whole thing around human development, women development. We were talking about inclusion in the previous panel, and I'm very proud to work for Diageo because at Diageo we have 50-50 representation between women and men in most of every single, like in most of the levels there. And it's like a truly interesting to see that because in the previous industries that I have worked for, I have never seen that. It's usually like 80-20. So when I think about this 50-50, it means a lot, like it's a lot of effort behind that. So that's pretty much a little bit about myself.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm very excited to be here today. Thank the Council of the America for the invitation. Actually, Relix has been here in another edition of the same conference before. We hope to have a permanent seat. And I should explain a little bit what Relix is. It's a British group of companies, and you probably know us more because we own LexisNexis and Elsevier, which is the largest scientific publisher in the world. I joined Relix just a year ago, went by really, really fast. And before that, I was with the US Chamber of Commerce based in Washington, D.C. for more than a decade. So government affairs, I'm covering government affairs for the whole Latin America, focusing more on the big countries in Latin America, Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Argentina. It's a great ride. I'll talk to you more about that throughout the panelists. Thank you again for inviting me.
Perfect. And Renata, well, we can probably start with you because one of the things that we discussed in our previous meetings was about how you actually transition across different industries. from law to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to corporate government affairs. So, with all those changes, what advice would you give to women looking to actually reinvent themselves?
Okay, I think this is going to get a little personal, but that's fine. I accepted the challenge, so I'm here for it. Well, I'm from Brazil originally. I've been in the US for several decades, 35 years, I think. And I went to law school in Brazil. And right out of law school, fresh out of law school, I came to the US to do a master degree. And as it happens with many of us, I met a person here and we decided to stay. And I remember saying to my husband, wow, why did I pick law? It's not a transferable career because you learn the law of a specific country. So what am I going to do here? I always wanted to be a professional. I did not want to be a full-time mom. I have no problems with people that do that, but so, it's been a wild ride for me. I did start at a law firm, and here's my first piece of advice. Do the hardest things early. I studied really, really hard to pass the bar as a foreign attorney. And I did while I was married, but no kids. And I don't regret that decision. So throughout my career, I changed courses twice. I think my generation and growing up in Brazil with very high unemployment rate, we stick to our jobs for a long time. That's not the case anymore, I think. I feel like of this generation. And I actually encourage that. I think you gain a lot when you change courses. I did for two main reasons throughout my professional life. First, I was at a law firm, very, very, very long hours, and I had two kids, two small kids, and I figured that I needed more time with my kids and my family. So I accepted a pay cut and I moved from a law firm to an association work, the US Chamber of Commerce. I had no regrets. For me, it worked out really well. And also throughout my career, I always wanted to work with Brazil, something related to Brazil, my home country. And I thought that at the chamber, I was working with the Brazil Council within the chamber, I would be very close to Brazil issues. That was my first reason for changing courses. The second, and I stayed with the chamber for more than a decade, and I never liked the idea of being too comfortable. I was too comfortable. It was time for me to pivot to something else. And I always also thought that I should do throughout my life the law firm work, association work, and then corporate in-house. And that was missing. And I'm like, time is running out. I need to do this. And I moved to Relics and I have no regrets. It gave me such a boost of energy after being at the chamber for 13 years. It was a great ride, a great school for me, but it was time. And what advice can I give a person that is trying to change courses? I think you need to analyze the situation. Of course, I had a solid job at the US Chamber. Everybody knew me. But you need to analyze what are the risks, what are the opportunities. Um, I, I think that, of course, when you move, you have to be committed to learning new things, dealing with new people, taking more risks. And I was committed to that. I think also a conversation with your partner, with your family about what entails. We talked about, well, you're probably going to have to travel more. Yes. So it's all common sense. I do like the idea of diversifying and learning more. I think that gave me a huge boost of energy. Even my husband says, "Oh my God, you're so different now." Being at the same place for many, many years, it's human nature. You get a bit comfortable. And, when you change environment, you change your colleagues, it just gives you a huge boost of energy. And I like that. And I'm enjoying my first year at Relics. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Patricia. So companies in general have been making great strides in terms of advancing, women in leadership in the workplace. Uh, what what practices, what strategies have you seen that have been working, and actually, where do we stand today, right, in terms of that?
It's a great question, and it's not an easy one to answer. And I'm going to tell you why, because it's really related to the purpose of the company that you are working for. I think that when we are talking about human development and you really want to see like more and more women in leadership positions, all the senior leadership team need to be very committed to this, and we need to be intentional about the programs that we put in place. So at Diageo, for example, when I think about this 50-50 that I was mentioning to you, we do have specific leadership programs development for women at different levels. So we have for women, there are managers now preparing for directors, and we do have for the ones that are at the supervisory level preparing for the middle management piece, right? And I was listening to Dr. Eli, and I was thinking a lot about this customization, right? The partnership that we have with universities across Latin America, developing and really making sure that this is something that is going to be meaningful for these women. What is different, I think, and I was listening to Roberta when she was talking about the book that you read, right? And these thoughts that hold us back sometimes. I think that bringing this to awareness is very important because it's true, these thoughts exist. So in Diageo, for example, we have one of our biggest employee networking groups sponsored by us leaders is the women network teams, right? The ERGs that we have. And in these forums, we do discuss this type of thoughts, behaviors that sometimes we don't even know, but may hold us back of growing in the career. More than that, I think that when we assign someone, a woman that has potential to be in one of these programs, you, you can have this anywhere and nothing happens. But if you were very intentional, as I was mentioning, what does it mean? That once the person goes to that program, this does not become an isolated event. After the person is there, then with the leadership team, we are going to be creating a get ready plan where that woman understands the opportunities for development. She has not only a mentor, but a sponsor, and then we follow through her career to make sure that we are preparing her to the next level. So we make it work. It's like an assertive decision that we are doing at that moment. And then you start seeing you moving the needle in terms of the numbers. But it's a commitment that has to be across the board, and then we all have a role in making this happen.
So, that is, it's a great perspective, to see actually that professional transition that Renata shared with us about implementing strategies. Um, Interesting also to see that, yes, I think that overall we have seen an improvement globally. For example, last year, I think that we recorded in the record of female CEOs in Fortune 500 companies, there were actually 53. So yes, a very good number. Actually, that's 10% of the Fortune 500 companies, right? And when you talk about heads of state or heads of government, we're talking about around 28 combined out of 200 countries, right? So again, the numbers are showing progress, but I think there's still work to do. And now getting to you, Alina, something that we had discussed previously, we talked about mentors, we talked about mentees, the impact. I know Gabriela is an expert in that field. Um, so what is that? What's your dual perspective, right, on both on mentor and mentees, and how do you see it adding value in within that leadership support framework, especially considering your role in the Women of Kellanova and Expansion magazine?
Yeah, so I was thinking about collective thinking, right? That was mentioned in one of the previous panels, and how um, none of us is more intelligent than all of us. And I think that's also the case when thinking about your career, because careers paths are not the result of a hero, of one person that's a genius and that achieves everything and it's the best. It's just really the result of collective efforts, of having sponsors that speak for you when you're not there, of having colleagues that share their knowledge, that amplify your voice, of having again mentors that put a mirror to yourself and say, like, this is what you're doing right and this is what you're doing wrong. I think mentors and being mentors and being mentees is part of that collective effort of growing. Every single career is a result of a collective effort. So for me, I am both a mentee and a mentor. I've had peer mentors and I've been a mentor of my peers, and that in itself is a great process, again, of thinking together, finding common experiences and common challenges, and then creative solutions to those common problems. But also thinking that mentorship is really a hack to the system. Because as you've said, women are not still like in represented equally in decision-making tables or in decision-making forums. So if you have a mentor that sits there, it's a way of you having a voice there. So it really is a hack to the system. No, if you develop those relationships with someone that admires you and that you admire, but that has a voice and that has decision-making process and that can influence your career, is really a way to again have a voice there. And I think there are two goals of being in this parts of this type of programs or processes. One is achieving clarity, and two, achieving visibility. Clarity about yourself and what your strengths are, and getting hard, not hard, but candid feedback from someone that is not your boss, because your boss will always have an agenda, really. It's for you to make your current work right. But that's not what you need when you're thinking about expanding your scope, having a new responsibility, even changing careers. So you need a third person to see you for who you are, what you're lacking, what you're doing great, and to give you that candid feedback. And in terms of visibility, again, having someone speak for you when you're not there. So it's critical. And for me, having a mentor at this stage in my career, where I think that I'm kind of have a mature set of hard skills, what I need is someone that helps me develop the soft skills that I need to become an even more influential leader within my organization. So at any stage of our careers, it's critical to have someone that admires your work, that will vouch for you, and that puts piel en la mesa, no, for you, no.
And to follow up with that, what role do you think female leaders play in supporting other women?
Well, some female leaders, because it's important to say that it should be a decision and it's a calling and it's a vocation. Not every female leader works for other females. And I've had managers that, like, in both sides of the spectrum, look, female leaders that are in leadership positionings that really just work for themselves and that you see that. And I've had female leaders that really raise the bar and that it's transformed into data. Like, my previous manager was the CEO for a global company. And after she took on the role for LATAM, her exco became 50-50. While before that, it was 20% of women. So in like 3 years or 4, there was a complete turnover, and it's just backed up. She backed up her decisions. Um, uh, she backed up her speech with her decisions, right? It's not about just getting there, but then making the decision and everyday actions to vouch for others and lift others up. So keep that in mind. It's not just female leaders that work for other women just because they're there. No, you have to make that decision every single day.
Thank you. Uh, Patricia, so despite all these efforts and the tools and the programs, uh, it seems that there are still, again, showing the statistics show that there are a lot of women that are still stuck within middle management positions. Um, so, what advice would you give to these women, in terms of actually breakthrough?
I would start by saying that this is a two-way journey. You know, this is not the women responsibility or the company responsibility, it's a joint effort. And I think that when I look back and when I compare to today's world, I think that the word is insane, right? I think that the complexity that is within the corporate world and the responsibility that our leaders have, like it's becoming more and more complicated in a way. So I would start by saying that it's very important for the leaders to create this psychological safety and this common ground that will allow these women to express. You know, I think that this is what really moves the needle moving forward. But when I think about the women perspective, I would focus on three things, to be honest. One is to be you, be authentic, be real. Don't try to compare you to the guys that are around, you know, just be you, be curious about it, express your desires, ask your questions. The other one I will be repeating here, but it's very important to me because I truly believe that this makes a difference. And when we see women doing that intentionally and genuinely as well in the work environment, it does create benefits. One is like build your master alliance, your networking within the company. You know, make sure that not only your sponsors or mentors, but talk to other executives, men and women, learn from them, position yourself differently, understand what this executive presence means, you know, be confident. I think that this alliance can really help you to get there. Why? Because everyone, each one of us have our own toolbox, right? Someone mentioned about toolbox here. Sometimes I have more tools than you, but sometimes you with less tools has been more successful than I am. And why is that? Because you are understanding how to take advantage of the tools that you have. If we are not aware about this, you may try, and get stuck. When you have this powerful alliance in place and you start connecting, sharing your inspirations, sharing about your aspirations as well, right? And get insight about what you can do differently. This is when the magic begins, you know? This is when you can start seeing what you need to do differently. This is when you become aware about some of the gaps that you have. This is when you start getting powerful feedback. And I always say that feedback is a gift, you know, is a gift. Is when you start seeing yourself in a different way that can really help you to continue moving in your career. So be curious about it. Ask questions, ask for feedback, and try to understand why you're getting stuck. Something is in there, probably. Thank you.
Thank you. Renata. So, something also that is applicable to Patricia and Alina is actually that breadth of experience, across different industries, different companies. How has that helped you, be successful in terms of leading and actually to put you where you are today?
Well, I think the areas that my expertise lie in are legal, public affairs, and corporate affairs, and they're all interconnected, right? I think, I always talk to my colleagues that do government affairs. There are two buckets of government affairs professionals: the ones that are lawyers and the non-lawyers. And the lawyers have a totally different mind. And I like a diverse team of government affairs with lawyers and non-lawyers. We're more rigid, more cautious. Deadlines are super important to us. We are the police uh, people, right? We say stop. No, we can't do that. So with my government affairs role, I use my legal skills on a daily basis, totally. And my corporate affairs, what skills, I have to give credit to the US Chamber of Commerce, where I stayed for 13 years and where I was exposed to so many different executives and companies. And I learned the nuances, not only of companies that work in different ways, but also governments, right? I learned the different corporate cultures and government cultures. And I think that's very important. It's important, and more, I see that global companies recognize the value of cross-cultural competence, skills. That's a unique skill that you bring. So I have to say it's a time and commitment throughout many years, being exposed to different roles that has helped me lead my teams. And my colleagues talked about that a lot. Mentorship. I want to offer a different perspective on mentorship. Um, of the 3 places I worked, only one had a structured program for mentorship. I actually like the non-structured path for mentorship. I think when you start a job, a couple of months into the job, you will identify individuals that are competent, that share same values as you, and that you trust. And you come to them and you say, you know, can we develop like this relationship where we talk frequently? It's not structured. I've been to mentorship programs where, okay, next month on the 5th of June, you have a meeting with your mentor. That is very valuable too. But I like the structure. Let's go out for lunch. Let's talk about this. I've been with Relics for a year, and I have already identified a few people that I consider my informal mentors. And throughout my career, I value the contributions that I receive for my informal and formal mentors. So I don't think it's an embarrassment to approach someone and say, listen, I really think you are very competent. You've been with the company for many years. Can I count on you for advice? And a lot of times, you know, I've been in that situation where people come to me for that. It's actually very nice to hear that from your colleagues. So I encourage young professionals to reach out to people that they trust and just ask, just say, listen, can we, you know, talk frequently about my role and how I'm growing, and can I count on you for advice? I think that's very okay to do, and I encourage young professionals to do that.
That's great. And uh, a little bit of a follow-up question, and probably mainly for you and Patricia. Um, Carolina, feel free to chime in, but you'll see why I say this. Because we talked about, you know, the different opportunities, how actually that breadth of knowledge and working different industries has actually helped. But also, I think that you both, and actually many women here in this room, have also faced other type of challenges, which is actually, in your case, being immigrants to the United States, right? And actually being successful, right, as immigrants as well. So how has that probably impacted or influenced in your professional, personal lives? And what advice would you give, you know, to other women that are in the same or similar situation?
I think we all agree that women professionals are judged at a higher threshold than others. We have to prove more. We have to work harder, most of the cases. I think a women professional and immigrant, that bar is even higher, right? We have so many doubts about, I mean, we are outside our home. We are in a different environment. We doubt ourselves all the time. I do it to this day. I try not to, but I can't avoid that. I remember, you know, talking to my husband when I was starting my career. What about my fluency in English? What about my accent? Right? What about my body language? You know, at the chamber, for example, we had like non-harassment treatment training, and And there were like red flags. If you touch a person, it's a red. I mean, not for Latin Americans, right? Right? It's actually very normal, right? It's not a red flag, it's a green flag, right? So so many doubts, right? But it's an uphill battle. But if you are up to it, to the challenge, you just have to trust yourself because we bring a lot that others don't. We bring the, as I said, the cross-cultural competence and skills. If you're an immigrant, you know at least two cultures, your own and the one you are in right now. So, and language skills, we bring that too most of the times, right? So, and I see the companies really recognize the value of that, the nuanced thinking, right? The emotional intelligence, because you live in a place that is not your native country. It's a challenge, um, but it's worth taking, I think. For me, it was.
It's an interesting question because it does not stop only as an immigrant in the US. It is very much related also when you have like a senior leadership role at a global company, and sometimes the headquarters is not in the US. It's also different, right? So I agree with everything that you have said. I think that is super challenging. But I think that we need to be very much confident about the things that we bring into the table because we bring a lot. I'm telling you, like, so when we start like just complementing and understanding and learning, and I think that this is the beauty of these differences, right? In my 34 years of career, most of my career was dedicated to American companies. It was much easier because when I thought that I was mastering, then I'm here at Diageo, where the headquarters is in London, right? And it's totally different. In addition to leading Latin America, I am also part of the HR leadership team globally. So I represent the region in the global HR team. And it's very challenging. It's very challenging because it's not even compared to the way that we do business in the US, So just being there, having a voice. So I think that the main challenge here, or to me, was having this voice. And I remember when I had my opportunity at Cisco, like leading the Americas, that was always my dream professionally. Having this voice as a Latin woman in the US, to me, was difficult, powerful, not that much fun, to be honest, because I didn't enjoy very much. So I think there is a little bit about of that, you know. Uh, Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Actually, we're run out of time, and we need to. We don't have time. Do we have time for questions or no? Okay. So, but we're gonna stay around in case you have any more questions. So again, I want to thank you very much, Renata, Lina, Patricia.
I've made them sign pieces of paper that are going to be here because thank you so much. The wealth of information and experience between all four of you. So we will keep you, we promise. And they will be here, I hope, for lunch. We're going into our final two sessions of the day. So we are waiting. Take a picture. No, please. No, no. Okay. Oh, hello. Sorry. Okay. The video people are going to kill me. Come on in. Come on in. So the next, so I said we're going